All right, welcome back. This is episode 13 of the Duck of Doom. So last time we finished up a couple new features. We made some spawn points for the ducks, and we made some sounds play. There they go, quacking for us. We got the shotgun sounds working. There we go. So got those elements working. Now what we want to do next is we made these navigation points, and if you take a look you'll see in the scene the little widget moving around. So let's go back to our little design list and or checkoff list and see if we made any progress here. Yep, we made the trigger, the shotgun animation when firing. Shotgun makes the sound when firing. We don't have these items yet. We also made spawn points for ducks. We made navigation points for ducks. Now we need to flight patterns for ducks. Which is probably mainly what we're going to do tonight. So the idea again was, let's see, is this? No. The idea was that they would start on the left or right, and then they would fly to one of these points that was picked randomly, and then fly to the next one, fly to the next one. So because these are all dispersed around in a kind of a little grid kind of pattern, that it would create a situation where the ducks were a little bit erratic and harder to aim at. So that I'm hoping is marginally easier than you might think, because it should use relatively the same kind of thing that we used for spawning logic. So in the previous episode, episode 12, we did this code of get random spawn location, and we're either going to spawn them on the left or the right. And how we did that was we put in the left and right spawns. Here's the left spawns. And here's the right spawns. That actually looks inverted, but I think that's because the player's actually facing this way. So left and right spawns, those are in our game controller in this array here. So it randomly chooses 50% chance it's going to be on the left or the right, and then it gets how many count of spawn points are in there, picks one at random, and then those are spawn points. Essentially the same technique for the flight path, except for we can either have it kind of pre-select like a 4 or 5, or maybe even just iterate through all of them, just like sort them in a list and go, okay, well, what's the order in the list, and then just kind of keep repeating until you kill it. Or probably what's better is have it select like 4 or 5 of them and then exit the screen, and then you've missed that duck, right? Which I think is kind of like pattern closer to what the original game was kind of like. Not that this game is modeled exactly after that, because when we get the Duck of Doom kind of element in there, things will change up a little bit. But I think there should be an opportunity to get the duck and then it leaves, right? So these nav points here are in fact a necessary element for the ducks and the Duck of Doom to know where they're going. So after I spawn a duck, I need to give them the information about these navigation points. So I'm going to put in the ducks, and this is going to be private now because these nav points will be given to it. So public void set nav. I'm sorry, I guess in C# they like. I'm bad because of multiple languages, and some want methods to have lower cases and other ones want uppercase. I think writer will complain if I make this lowercase. yet does not match method properties and event suggested name is set nav points. See, it knows what the C# convention is. Reason, not that it matters that much, but the reason that I don't get down with that too much is because to me a class name is capitalized, and if I see a capital name then I know it's a class or an object itself, right? And then if it was lowercase, then that's got to be a method or a member. That makes more sense to me, but welcome to C#. All right, hopefully this won't reveal any PII, but Twitter, boom. Oh, and it came up with Twitch, boom. Let's tweet what is happening, brothers. You can tell I totally tweet so much. Probably that previous screen's where I wanted to be. What's happening? All right. Live streaming episode 13 of Duck of Doom development. And hopefully, bam, all right. There we go. Alright, so set nav points will receive just like it has up here, a list of game objects. I'm sorry, an array of goes game objects. So when we receive those, nav points equals goes. We'll assign value of this into this. Okay. Then the next thing we could do, because I guess let's just do it in the order we're doing it. Enemy manager. Okay. So when I spawn a duck, and then we go duck d equals duck.get component duck. Set nav points. Okay, yeah, we don't even have to. We can do it like that, and then we pass in nav points. Okay. So yeah, what that does is this spawn duck. Oh, you know what? Boop. Sorry, that needs to be inside here. My bad. Okay. So this game object will have a duck component on it because we know it's a duck, and then it will get that component and find the method that we just made, which is set nav points, and pass it this, so that now we can use this in here. So again, we said similar to the code, the enemy manager for the get random spawn location. So I'm just going to copy this as a little bit of a template to start from. And so here we're going to set duck travel points. This doesn't need to return anything. Okay, so left spawns and right spawns is no longer a concern, so we'll trim out that stuff. It's not returning anything, so we'll trim out that. And again, the idea is that these navigation points, it might randomly pick one, the duck will fly here. randomly picks 4, then it flies over here, and it picks 13 and it flies over here. So it's just randomly selecting some elements in the array. And just the question would be, like we talked about before, is how many of those. So I guess I'm going to start with about, let's do 4. Okay. Game object array. It says 4 elements, flight path. Okay. Actually, so that must be. Yeah, I guess I can't initialize it like that. I forget. Google that real quick. Initialize array of game objects to specific size. Okay, yeah, so they're just initializing it in a for loop, and that's pretty close to what I want to do anyways. All right. So again, this was from the previous one, and this is flight points. And there is one potential weakness here, and that is that it would hypothetically choose the same one twice in a row. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. That would just cause them to hover for a short amount of time. So, and that could be a freebie to the player sometimes, right? So we'll see if that ends up being awkward. We can take it out. All right, so this nav points is an array, and let's assume, like right now we know it's 16, but what if I decide to make more because it's like it's too predictable, or less because it's too noisy? So we don't want to hard code it to a specific one. We want to say, as we did before, the nav points length right? No, that is a nav point is an array of game objects. So here we should be able to say that this is really just picking a number. So if I chose to put in one at position 1, can I convert game object to game object? Oh, all right. My bad, I know what's going on. This is where we need the for int I equals 0. While I is less than, this is the number, so let's make a number. Private int number of flight points equals 4. Explain this, let me type it out a little bit. So what's happening here is we actually had to tell it at what index of the array that was going to go into. So what we're going to do is go through a loop. I will start off at 0, and then we'll go through and say random range 0 to the length, which happens to be 16. So let's say it comes up with 4. So at the 0 index of the array, I'll put the 4th nav point in there. Then it'll be done. It'll go back to the loop and increment it, and now it's at position 1. So at position 1 in the array, it'll do a random again from 0 to 16, and let's say it chooses 10. So at position 1, it'll put in the 10th game object. So we'll do that 4 times. Okay, so that should initialize the travel points. So the next thing we need to do is tell it to traverse those over time. So let's think of a good way to do that. It's going to need to be in the update loop, and it's going to be lerping or slurping, which let's go Unity lerp. So what a lerp does is, interpolate is a fancy word to just kind of mean it smooths it out between two different points. And there's I forget, it's like a lerp and a slurp. The difference is something like one's a linear and one is see if they give the I'd have to Google it. I don't remember, but they give slightly different appearance. Where I think like in the lerp the movement is pretty steady across, and in a slurp the movement maybe at the end slides in a little faster, I think is kind of what the difference would be. So in our case we want a lerp. And so you see here the way a lerp would work, there would be a start marker and an end, a speed, and then we need to know when it starts. In your update loop you set them between these things. So a lot of times you can copy some of this out of the documentation. It's been a while since I did a little bit like this, so I might end up doing that and tweaking it here. But a consideration we need is that after each time it traverses one of these, we need a way to know that it's done, and then when it's done we'll tell it to pick the next point and begin. We could also tell it to pause for a short amount of time as well. So let's just bring those in, and then we'll start editing them as needed. So we'll call this for movement code variables. So again, we're going to modify this over time, but what we can try to start off with is getting it picking the very first one so that all the ducks will start from their spawn locations and head towards the first one, and that'll be kind of the proof that this little bit is starting to work. So obviously the start marker needs to be where they are from their spawn, right? And then the end marker needs to be flight path 0, the very first item. So let's just make sure where their start marker position, where are they setting start at? Do not see where they're starting that, so let's look at that example. I think I know what they're doing here. The start marker must be something because it's public. In their example, what this is just like with mine, these are public elements of this guy right here, see? So these are here because this is public. So these were items they dragged in. That's what this example means. Which I guess is good to know, because do they even say that here? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, see, this example doesn't even say that. So if you didn't know Unity well enough to know that, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble. So in our case, so then we know we're passing in these things, and or we can assign them from here. So start time. I'm sorry, wrong variable. Start marker equals. So what this means is the lowercase game object is a property of this object, and this one is inherited because of mono behavior. It's an object-oriented language, and everything's a game object. And since everything's a game object, there's the concept of whichever one you are. So the duck has their own game object. So the start is wherever they happen to be when I call this script. Okay. And then the end marker, as we indicated, we will set flight path 0. Can I convert unit? Oh, dot change for. How about that? Okay, so what this is likely to do, if I got it right, which welcome to game dev, probably didn't. As soon as it spawns it should call this script, set the current location, initialize this array, and then set the end location, and then in the next update loop, all the ducks should start moving to their first location. So cross your fingers, wish me luck. And let's hope we see some ducks moving. Interesting. So we should see 5 ducks, and we only see 1 duck. So some of the ducks went somewhere, and they might have went really fast. So let's pause the scene, and let's see where the ducks are. Oh, there's only 1 duck. Interesting. So did I induce a little bug? Oh yeah, look at this. The very end marker of duck has not been assigned. Okay. So created a bug. See, it didn't work the first time. Welcome to game development. So what I'm trying to do, null reference exception, object reference not set to an instance of an object. And then it's telling me if I double click on it, it should take me to the line where that occurred. And so that's saying that occurred on this line right here. So something in here was not. So that could be this, or it could be the nav points. So since I don't know which it is, let's do a debugging session, which I actually enjoy debugging. So we need to attach to the Unity process. It's like puzzle solving. That's when you know you want to be a programmer, when you start enjoying debugging. So this should very quickly, right away. Yep, it's flashing, and here we are. So null. Okay, well, there's null. And okay, this is not null. Okay, good. So why is that null? I thought if I'm flight path was game object, and then I should be able to just put these in here. So yep, I did something wrong. At least now we know it's this. Okay. See, that was easy debugging. It's not all bad. I did Google that a minute ago, so let's Google again. Unity 3D initialize array of game objects. So here they have an array of players, and they're going to go find all game objects with the tag and just put it inside. So what you notice they didn't do, and you actually can't do, you can't say game object equals new game object, because you have to instantiate game objects, not create new ones. It's part of their little rules. So what happened here? So this guy has a array of game objects called selector AR. And here they're saying new game object num selectors. So this num selectors is how many? I thought you just couldn't do that. Yeah, this is what you're normally supposed to do, is instantiate. I guess let me, so, well, I just didn't think you could do that. Yep, see here. So here he's creating the new actual game object by instantiating it, and then he's inserting it into the array here. Y, some num selectors, new game object, array. So he's saying, okay, I get it. I'll try it. What's the worst that could happen? It won't work, right? Flight path equals new game object array. My ID even new. And so this for us would be the number of flight points. Well, I'll have learned something if this works. And then let it recompile and try again. Cross your fingers. Ooh, look at that, look at that. Woo, ducks are flying. Boom, down you go. Yeah. Oh, that was so sweet. Oh, I love it when it works. That was the best. All right. There we go. I'm feeling pretty good. That was awesome. And I like ending on a high note. So to recap, we set ourselves an array of the flight points, told the duck to go to the first one. Tomorrow night, we should go through and tell it to find out when it's done and pick the next point. And sorry, that's my kid watching cartoons laughing. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.